Hi, everyone. This is Michele Graglia.
This is Marianne Hogan.
Hi, I'm Adrian McDonald.
I'm Katie Asmith.
Hi, this is Anthony Gasals.
Hi, my name is Meg Morgan.
Hey, it's Jordan Trofe.
This is John Ray.
This is Ryan Van Duzer, and you are listening to the Gotta Run Racing Podcast.
Hey everyone, we're back.
We are back
with another Gotta Run podcast.
With some exciting news.
But first, what's happening with Gotta Run Racing?
Oh, you don't want to talk about our news?
It's coming.
Okay. All right. We're going to keep them hanging by a thread. What is happening? Rainbow Trail Run is just over a month away.
Wow. Sign up, folks. Sign up.
Yeah, the price is going up soon. So make sure that you don't miss out. It's a fun race.
It is. It's running along the river,
bridges, beach,
and one hill that you can do over and over again.
No, it's a good time. I'll always have cool swag, great medals, great volunteers. Speaking of which, we are in need of some volunteers.
Like we are every year.
That's right. So if you have some time on your hands, Saturday, June 14th, drop me a line. GottaRunRacing@gmail.com.
And sign up at GottaRunRacing.com.
You bet.
Also, in some news, thanks for the thousands of emails that flooded our station of suggesting races that we can...
Our station? I don't even know what that means. Are you in WKRP land? WKRP in Orangeville.
With all the suggestions that we had to flood through, this is
Oh my God, so many emails. Yeah. So many emails.
Emails that make this noise. No, they actually mailed us through the letter, regular post as well.
Oh my God.
We have decided on a race and that's willing to take us. Lasso!
Woohoo! You're going back.
Well, I'm going back to take on the 100.
And I'm doing the 50.
So there you go, folks. We're going to be back in Alberta. And I know we have a lot of listeners in Alberta. Alberta being the second highest province of most downloads.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
Nice.
Ontario first, then Alberta.
So if you're doing Lasso this September, let us know. We'll meet you at the start line.
And hey, anyone doing Lost Soul has a nice story to tell, wants to be on a podcast, let us know. Also, according to stats, we have a new follower from a new country in the world.
Where is it? New country or new country to us?
New country has one follower.
No, they're not a new country. They're just a country that has never followed us before.
There's one guy in this country that decided to listen to us.
And what country's that?
The Seychelles.
No way.
Yeah.
Seychelles.
Yeah, which I didn't know much about. I did some research on it. Richest country in Africa.
Hello, we're watching the Below Deck.
Down Under?
Down Under. They're in the Seychelles.
They're in the Seychelles?
We've been watching that for over a month.
Wow, I wonder if that's why they listen to us, because we're watching Below Deck.
Oh my God, this intro's going off the rails.
Anyways, there you go. And thank you, whoever you are who decided to listen to us in Seychelles.
Maybe they were just on vacation and they downloaded an episode they're not really from there.
Whatever. And final note before we get into our guest today, we're going to be at Sulphur Springs.
That's right. Come and say hi.
Come and say hi. We're going to be there. Sulphur Springs, the newest Western States qualifier race here in Ontario.
Speaking of Sulphur Springs, today's guest is Tracy McKinnon, who is 51 years old. He is a forensic toxicologist at South Carolina Law Enforcement Division, a.k.a. Dexter.
Yeah. I think I have more questions about his job than his ultra running career.
Well, maybe we can ask him at Sulphur.
Yeah.
According to Ultra Sign Up, he's been running ultras for at least 10 years, and some of his races include Rocky Raccoon 100, Pinhoti 100-miler, Cruel Jewel 100.
Which I still have nightmares about. I think I did that 10 years ago.
No way.
Yep, and I still wake up into a cold sweat.
Wow. And most recently, the Grindstone 100K by UTMB. He now has his sights set on Sulphur Springs 100K right here in Ontario, and we think it might be his first race outside the U.S., which is a great idea because if you finish your 100K in under 18 hours, you earn a ticket to Western States. So let's get to know Tracy better and hear all about his ultra running journey.
Here's Tracy coming up. Well, welcome, Tracy, to the podcast, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Where are you at?
I'm in Columbia, South Carolina.
What part of the state is that?
That is basically the middle of the state. It's infamously called the armpit of the South because it gets hot and no air circulation during the summertime. So, it's
Sounds like a great place.
Yeah.
Very good.
Well, we're talking to a couple of guests who are going to be joining us at Sulphur Springs this, couple of weeks.
2 weeks, yeah.
It's coming up. And who are trying to get their Western States ticket. And because we're going to be there at the finish line chatting with people who are finishing. So before we get into your journey of ultra running, first tell us how you first started running. When and how you first started?
Oh, wow. Let's see. So I guess my oldest son, who has never really been like coordinated enough to do the sports that I played growing up, like baseball, stuff like that. And my wife and I both encouraged both of our boys to be active. And he joined the track team and cross country team at his high school. And I thought, hey, this is maybe something that he and I could do together, go out for runs or whatever. And I started running with him a little bit. And then he graduated high school and I just kept running and he stopped.
Nice.
And that was probably, 20 years ago, maybe. Yeah, about 19 or 20 years ago is when it all kind of started.
Nice.
Wow, we hear a lot of stories how people started, usually with weight loss or just a different lifestyle. But I think it's the first time I heard this beginning of how someone started running just to join their son to start running.
Exactly. Of course, growing up with me, I'm basically a kid at heart anyway. So all things Star Wars and stuff like that, we had that in common. But when it came time to talk about baseball box scores or football box scores or stuff like that, he was like, nah, I couldn't care less. And then it just kind of grew from there. That was just something that I thought that we could do together. And like I said, he graduated high school and said, I'm done. And I said, well, okay, I'll carry the torch then. So
very good.
So he's not running anymore?
No, he's more into weightlifting type activities now. That's kind of his jam. So
right. And what made you take the leap into trail and ultras?
Some coworkers introduced me to trails. Where we work, there's a state forest with miles and miles of trails, maybe 5 minutes from where our lab is. And after work one day, one of my coworkers, hey, do you want to join me for a run? And I thought, yeah, let's do it. And having never run trails before, it was quite the eye-opening experience.
Yep.
Don't look at your watch. If you look at your watch, you're going to fall down. That type of thing. So yeah, it was. So that was probably 15 years ago, maybe that I got into trail running
and never looked back.
I still have an affinity for the road. I feel like road running is a necessary evil, as far as building speed and all that stuff. But yes, I just love getting on the trail and just letting things go.
Well, speaking of your job, we don't typically delve into a person's occupation too much on this podcast, but yours, it sounds quite interesting. Could you tell our listeners just a little bit about what you do?
Okay. So I'm a forensic toxicologist with the state crime lab. So I basically have the job of figuring out what kind of drugs and alcohols and poisons people have in their body, either when they die or for driving under the influence type cases. So it can be very interesting. It can also be very monotonous. It's not like what people see on CSI or any of the forensic shows.
We're thinking Dexter.
It seems like every time that I start to fall into like same thing, then there's something new that pops up. And that's kind of a new, whether it be a new drug or somebody dying with a bunch of drugs in their body or, just something like that just kind of, sparks some curiosity and interest.
Well, that's fascinating. I can imagine running is helpful to clear your mind after a particularly stressful day at the office.
I work out a lot of problems between at least whatever instrumental type issues I'm having. And then I've told my supervisor on numerous occasions that I've worked out a lot of our arguments without him actually being there. So,
Very clever.
yeah.
So what was your very first ultra race?
Very first ultra race was the local Harbison 50K at the state forest. And that was, 2012, 2013. I think that was the first one. I'd done a couple of smaller trail races before that just to kind of get a feel of what, how things were going to shake out a little bit. But yeah, 50K, jumped right in and found that distance and up is really a fun times on the trails.
Absolutely. So you were inspired to take on more after that, as we'll get to. But 50K is a good place to start. There's a lot of people that jump right to the bigger ones, but I think you got to take the necessary steps to know how to improve. And yeah, let's get to the next one.
Yeah. So the one that we piqued our interest was the Mountain 50 miler put on by Wild Trail.
Okay, the Lookout Mountain, yeah.
Yeah. Tell us about that one.
So the group of guys that I run with every December, they needed an excuse to have a race and then do nothing from the time that the race completed until the New Year's. So this race typically falls on the Saturday before Christmas. So they would literally run the race and not run for 2 or 3 weeks after that. So I don't even remember the first one that I did, but I thought, that's kind of a nice way to have a break from running, through the year and then enjoy the holidays. So I jumped on board with those guys. I think I've completed, 4 or 5 of those over the last 10 plus years.
Nice. And that's in Georgia, right?
Yes, it's actually interesting. It starts in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and then the majority of the race is actually in Georgia. So you're in Chattanooga for, maybe 20 miles of the race, and then you dip down into Georgia for really the back 50K of the race is in Georgia.
Is that a point to point?
It's actually kind of like a double loop, like a weird figure 8.
Oh, okay.
So the race starts at this small college called Covenant College, and you do a loop around that college on their trail system, and then after you leave Covenant College, that's like I said, you go into Georgia, and then you do the loops down through there, and then obviously head back at the same place. And the interesting thing about this race is, I guess the second loop of the course, there's a smaller loop within that loop. It's called the Long Branch Loop, and that's basically like your turnaround circle to get back. And it's always been our goal to hit that loop before seeing the overall winner coming out. So it's kind of like a little added incentive to get there and try to hit that before you see somebody else coming your way, because if you see somebody else coming your way, then you know that you might be in for a long night.
Right. What's the trail scene like where you live in South Carolina? Is there a good community there?
It's a pretty fantastic community. There is a core group of guys who I run with, and we recruit all types of people to come run with us. Okay,
nice. So in 2018, you upped your game to the Rocky Raccoon 100 miler, which takes place in February. I'm seeing a trend here that you like winter races.
Yeah, it's nice to not train hard here during the summer. It's nice it typically, it's very hot, very humid here. Like I said, Columbia is infamously called the armpit of the South. Yeah, winter races definitely are easier to get the training time and mileage in, because you can pick that training up starting basically when the weather starts to break.
Of course. It's kind of the opposite for us.
Yeah.
We don't like training in the winter, but everyone complains about racing in the summer because of the humidity. There's no real ideal.
Right, exactly. Yeah, if you could just pick up and move every like 3 months or whatever to the ideal spot, that's the way to do it, right?
That's kind of our retirement plan, actually.
Sounds like a solid plan.
Yeah. So tell us about your first 100-miler.
Well, I was guilted into it by some of my running buddies. They, basically had told me, "Hey, it's time you run a 100-miler.
Okay.
You've done enough of the smaller distances. You need to run 100." So I was looking for a race. Nothing really around here looked like something I wanted to do like right away. There's a race up in North Carolina called Umstead 100-miler. And that's not that far of a drive for us, but I actually ended up doing that one the following year, but I wanted something that was kind of similar to what I was used to running on, like the terrain. And then, by all accounts, Rocky Raccoon was that race. The trails were very similar to what we have here in Columbia as far as pine roots and sand and some mud. So it, just kind of felt like a first great race to kind of dive into.
For sure.
So what did you ran through the night? Was this your first time running through the night?
Yes.
How was that?
It was, so I'd done a couple of night training runs. There were, about a month out of the race, some guys met me after work, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the evening. And we would do, I think we did like 2 5 or 6 hour runs after work, just to kind of simulate being up all day and running on tired legs, all that. So I was okay with running at night, running with a headlamp, all that stuff. We do have at least coyotes that we have to worry about and bobcats. So the wildlife situation I wasn't really too concerned with, but it was definitely how am I going to respond once the sun goes down type thing, after literally being up running all day long. But, it went well. It just so happened that on my last loop, when I was really so very tired, I ended up running up on Ainsley Gordon of Western States fame.
Yes.
And he was moving. I slowed down and I kind of matched his speed for probably 15 minutes, just talking to him. It's great to pick the brain of a legend, even though his brain was probably just as foggy as my brain was. It was nice to just to have that time, just he and I out there on the trails, just sharing some time on the trail during the race.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Was this the race that planted the seed to Western States?
Yes. I went into looking to run hundreds with the ultimate goal of getting to Western States. Obviously, there are 100-milers everywhere that you could jump into. And one of my friends specifically said, "Hey, what's the use of running a 100-miler if it's not a qualifier for Western States?"
That sounds like my journey.
So I thought, hey, this guy's done it before. He knows what he's talking about. So that has been my goal from the get-go is Western States. And here we are all these years later, and I'm still trying to get in.
Yeah.
You'll get there.
Yeah, just keep going.
Eventually. Yeah, eventually.
You will get there.
Another race that piqued our interest was the Pinhoti 100, where you get to run to the highest point of Alabama. How cool is that?
Pinhoti is a race that is, from a runner standpoint, is just awesome. The trails are just really nice. You get the peak fall colors, the weather. Apparently from a crewing standpoint, it's terrible to crew because you're, in these backwoods, dirt roads in Alabama, driving through the night. It's just, if you can do it by yourself, and I've got friends who have gone, started the race and done the race by themselves. I prefer to be babied while I'm running. So I love to have a crew. I love to see familiar faces rolling into an aid station. Yeah, I love to hear the tough love that, it's usually my wife who's crewing me, that, that tough love that you've got to hear when you're ready to just die. You get, if you don't see a bone sticking out, you're good to go. Just
That's
keep
right.
going.
That's right.
Yeah. So yeah, Pinhoti was definitely a race. I would highly recommend it, and just know going in that crewing's going to be tough for your crew. Not undoable, but it's a heck of a race to run.
Very cool. Have you guys checked out our merch via our website, GottaRun Racing? We have some really cool swag, including the mugs that, if you've watched our YouTube video, that we drink with. Cool red mug with a cork bottom. It keeps liquids nice and cold or warm. What else do we have on there, Norm?
Well, we have our shirts that I'm wearing.
That's right. You can either choose from GottaRunPodcast or GottaRun Racing. You can also find our 20-liter dry bags, which are a steal at $25. Perfect for using it drop-off bag at an aid station. We've got flasks. We also have cooling multifunctional neckwear, which is a fancy word for a cooling buff. Has the GottaRun Racing and podcast logos on it. Not to mention, we have the affiliate links for the 3 companies, for the 3 brands that we are affiliated with, that being Air Relax, Compression Therapy, Caffeine Bullet, and Kinesis Sunscreen. So by following those links, you can access exclusive discounts. So do check that out, GottaRunRacing.com.
And when you reach the highest point in Alabama, is there a sign there saying you reached the highest point?
No, and it's very funny because when I reach the highest point, that's when I reach the lowest point.
Oh no.
Yeah. So, and this is something that I'm sure that everybody who wears, a GPS watch or whatever can attest to, that whatever pace that you're setting or your watch says that you're getting is not accurate at all when you're on the trail. And I came into this aid station probably about a half an hour ahead of what I had projected.
Ooh.
But my Garmin had told me for like the last 4 miles that I was running 20-minute miles. And I'm like, the effort of these 20-minute miles seems like they're a lot harder. And I was probably running like 10-minute miles, through there. So that kind of messes with your head. And this was only my second 100. So it's still new to it and not really understanding that I was doing a whole lot better than what I actually was doing. And it, like I said, that's when the tough love of a very supportive wife says, "You're doing pretty good. You need to keep going. Don't drop out." So yeah. So that was, but when you get there, it's cool to see. I mean, it's on a clear day. You look and it's gorgeous. But I'm not there for the sights. I'm there for the start and finish. That's and whatever food I might fall in love with during the race at the aid stations. So
very nice.
Nice. Well, in 2023, this brings back memories to me that you took on the Cruel Jewel, which I still have nightmares about because I did that 10 years ago. I still wake up into a cold sweat. And hey,
I wasn't there for that one, but I heard the stories when he came home.
I went by myself. I did the whole thing by myself. And tell our listeners how cruel is Cruel Jewel.
All right, so I'm gonna do a quick sidebar. So that I went to Cruel Jewel with one of my really good friends who we've done a lot of races together. He actually started Rocky Raccoon with me. He's one of the ones that told me, "Hey, it's time to start up in your game." So we went to Cruel Jewel, and this was going to be his third Cruel Jewel.
Oh wow!
It was kind of a pinky swear that we were going to run together the whole thing because he has knowledge of the course and all that. And the reason that he was running his third Cruel Jewel in the most ultra thing that you could imagine, he ran his second one because he had lost his buckle from his first one.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So he's like, I've got to get a buckle because these buckles are, they're just gaudy. They're so big. They're wonderfully gaudy. So that was his thing. Is like, I've got to do Cruel Jewel a second time just to have that buckle. And the funny thing is as he finished up his second one and was driving home, he found his first buckle down between his seat and his dashboard.
No way.
Yeah. So he's like, well, now I've got 2 buckles. So then I convinced him to do it a third time. And it just, unless you've actually done this race, I don't think that telling tales of it can do it justice because it's going to be hot. It's going to be very humid. It's in the middle of May in Georgia in the woods.
Yep.
You're in basically a rainforest situation in the mountains, and it is miserably up, 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 down, 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 down. Like
Okay, stop. You're giving me chills.
Yeah.
You're making me, memories are coming back to me now.
And not to mention the poison ivy that's everywhere. That's just absolutely everywhere on the course.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that race, I have no intentions of ever going back to.
I agree.
Yeah. The fact that my friend Kenneth has done this race 3 times just blows my mind. Why would you want to do this?
I was going to say, that's a good friend. That's a good friend to agree to go back.
He is a hell of a friend. Yeah, he is a hell of a friend.
Now, you also got a ticket to Hard Rock out of this race. So did you put your name into the lottery for that one?
After experiencing Cruel Jewel, I wanted nothing to do with Hard Rock. So my friend Kenneth, he actually has been trying to get into Western States and Hard Rock simultaneously for the last 10 years. And he's finally into Hard Rock this year.
Ooh.
And he's like, you've got a ticket. You might as well try. You never know what's going to happen. And I'm like, if I get in, I'm not going to run it. So there's no sense me trying it. So it's not that I'm really afraid of it. That's just another level of sadism that I don't want to have any part of. I'm glad that I did Cruel Jewel. There are things that I found out about myself during that race, but that's where the insanity stops. And then no way would I ever consider anything more than 100 miles. 100 miles is the ultimate stopping distance. Even though Cruel Jewel is 106.
Which makes it cruel.
Yeah.
But you get that ticket to Hard Rock is good for 2 years, though, right? You may change your mind. You could put it in this year or no? It's good for...
I think that last year was my last year to have put in for it.
Are you going to crew Kenneth at Hard Rock?
Well, he has asked me, and as fate would have it, the day that the race starts is also my wife's 50th birthday.
Oh.
So to be a good husband, to be a great husband, I'm going to stay here and celebrate her birthday with her.
Good idea, Tracy.
I would really, really like to be out there, and any other week, any other day, any other year, I would be out there with him. It's just, it's the way that things, kind of shook out this year.
But I'm sure that would be a great gift to her to go together to crew.
No.
We've already had this conversation, and she's like, "Nope, I don't want to. That's not a good birthday for me." So.
Happy wife, happy life, right?
That's exactly right. Exactly right.
Good call. Well, have you got any other crazy stories, whether it's hallucination or
bear sightings,
wildlife encounters that have happened during a race or during training that you can tell us?
Hallucinations. When I did Pinhoti, I remember at one point the reflectors that they put out on the trail at night were little round reflectors. Mm-hmm. So I may or may not have seen a pack of coyotes trying to chase after me. I picked up a stick, and I wasn't far from an aid station, and my wife met me maybe like a half a mile out from the aid station and kind of walked in with me, and I gave her the stick, and I said, "You might need this for the coyotes." And there were probably no coyotes around, truth be told. So it's just with like 10 miles to go and you've been up all day, you start to to hear, see things.
Oh, yeah.
But, running in the mountains, bears, I see bears all the time, black bears.
Yeah.
And you just know, the first one you see, it's like, it is a big deal. And then you see, the more you see them, the more you just kind of know what you do. You just respect them. You just, hey, I'm here, you're here. I would rather that we weren't sharing the same space. So I need to go somewhere and you're probably just lumbering around. So please let me go.
So now you're coming to Sulphur Springs a couple of weeks. Will this be your first race outside the U.S.?
First ultra race. My wife and I in 2019 was our 26th anniversary, and we did the Loch Ness Marathon. So,
nice.
Yeah, it'll be my first ultra outside of the States.
Very nice.
Very good. And what made you just choose this race in particular here in Canada?
Timing. I wanted to go ahead and get something done early, especially earlier-ish in the year, so I don't have to train throughout the summer, hopefully. Location, we're going to make a vacation out of it. So
nice.
Within driving distance from South Carolina to stop, along the way at a couple spots, and on the way back, just kind of take your time getting home. And there were some other races that I looked at, a couple in Ohio, and there's one going on that started this morning in North Carolina. It's the Hellbender 100 that I was considering, but I've got a lot of friends that are running that race, and I just don't think that it looked interesting to me at the time, but it's just something that I just didn't want to, tackle right away. So,
have you guys been to Canada before?
As a freshman at University of Michigan, I made it into Windsor, and that's like the only time that I've ever been into Canada, and that was just a couple of times. So this will be our first time, officially being in Canada.
Awesome. Well, that's great. At least your dollar goes farther.
Yeah, we have noticed that, getting our Airbnb reservations and whatnot. So it's like, oh, wow, these are really nice houses that we're not having to pay a lot for. So,
well, there's some other races we may suggest for you if you ever decide to come back to Canada and race. That's the Canadian Death Race.
I've heard lots about that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Or Lost Soul. They both give you Western States tickets.
Mm-hmm.
And there's Harricana in Quebec.
Yeah, one of my running buddies years ago, his brother did the Canadian Death Race, and he was out there crewing him, and he talked about how gloriously tough that race is. I'm hoping that I don't have to keep tackling these qualifiers too much longer because I am looking to kind of pipe it down a little bit.
No, you got about 3 or 4 more years to go.
Yeah, I know. I told my wife that once I run Western States, that's it. Nothing more than 50 miles. And I have found that the 100K distance is a really nice distance. Yeah. I've done Helgate and now Grindstone, both 100Ks as qualifiers for Western States. And it's nice that you can be done running in 14 hours and still have an evening and able to, go to sleep without too much muscle twitching and whatever going on.
And your crew doesn't have to have a sleepless night as well.
Bingo.
Yeah, absolutely. So how many tickets will you have once you complete Sulphur, Tracy?
16.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm still kind of...
You got a couple years ahead of you.
Yeah, well, I've got a friend who got picked this last year. She had 8 tickets.
Oh gosh,
nice.
Yeah. So, and when they called her name, I was so happy for her, but I was like, why couldn't it be me? So, but no, she's gonna go out and run it and crush it. She's gonna do great. Happy for her that she got in. Yeah, it just wasn't my time yet.
No,
so.
Exactly.
Do you watch the lottery every December?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of pathetic that, nothing else going on that December day. So you just sit there and watch and just listen to all 265 names getting called or whatever it is.
Well, you're not alone, so.
Right. Oh, I know. Yeah, right.
Well, we'll be rooting for you there at Sulphur Springs. We're going to be there at the finish line chatting with all the runners coming across. So make sure you come and say hi to us
Yes,
if we don't see you.
Please
Definitely,
do.
yeah.
We'll be wearing our plaid.
All right.
And it's a fun race vibe. I think you'll really enjoy it.
Yeah, and I like the fact that it's a loop course, so you'll see, you're never really alone out there on the trails. Where some of these point to points, you can find yourself by yourself, and sometimes it's not fun.
Yeah.
So.
Well, when you're on your loop, we're going to have a chat with your wife so she could give us the real dirt.
Oh yeah. I'm sure she's got stories to tell. So.
What's her name?
Her name's Julie.
Julie. Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, before we let you go, we like to finish with just some rapid fire questions just for some fun. So if you're ready, I'll get started.
Okay.
Beer or wine?
Beer.
Okay, we got a lot of good beer in Canada. I'm sure you know that. 70s, 80s, or 90s music?
Oh, that's a tough one. I'm going to go 80s metal and 90s alternative.
Nice.
Oh.
Can I do that?
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely. That's a good combo.
What about 70s rock?
Yeah, as far as anthems go, 70s rock, you can't go wrong with a lot of that stuff. But man, I'm just an 80s metal guy. Hair bands, Metallica, all that stuff.
Nice.
So.
Now, you mentioned food earlier. So what's your favorite aid station food?
Oh, gosh. This is something I found at Rocky Raccoon. Bacon wrapped tater tots.
Oh.
So it's a tater tot that they wrap in bacon.
Ooh.
And it is food from the gods. It is. It has everything that you need, during an ultra. It's got, protein. You've got your carbs.
Salt.
A little bit of fat. When I found that, I was probably 50 miles in. I think I was starting my third loop. When I found that was a game changer for me. Yeah.
Favorite ice cream flavor, speaking of food?
Peppermint ice cream.
Mm.
It's a Christmas flavor, basically. So I get it 1 month, sometimes if I'm lucky, 2 months, out of the year. And then after, the other 10 months of the year, then I have to deal with just either cookies and cream or mint chocolate chip.
All right. Would you rather be a professional writer, painter, or musician?
Well, I'm not good at any of those three. I would have to go with a writer. I think that I can probably a little bit better at writing than definitely singing. I have no rhythm. And I have really no artistic ability, so I'd have to be a professional writer.
All righty. All right, Nora.
But before I give the last one, what's the last concert you went to, considering that you're a music guy?
The last concert that we went to, let's see, it was supposed to have been the Black Crowes in October, but we had a hurricane come through that basically canceled that.
That's too bad.
The last concert before that was Nathaniel Rateliff at Red Rocks.
Ooh.
Nice.
And that was a heck of a show.
Yeah.
It's a great venue.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, we saw Rush there at Red Rocks.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I would have killed to see Rush.
It was awesome.
A great Canadian band.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Final question. Pick a superpower you'd like to have.
Man, I guess this is probably one that everybody says, the ability to fly.
Yeah, that's number one.
Yeah.
For sure.
That's got to be it. Just the ability to get up and see things from different heights or whatever. Escape situations quickly if you need to. Get to situations quickly if you need to. So.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, Tracy. It's been great getting to know you better, and we'll look forward to meeting you at Sulphur Springs.
Thank you. I had a fun time.
Awesome. Well, best of luck with your tapering, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.
All right. Thank you. Okay. Thanks, guys.
All right. Have a great weekend.
All right. Thanks. You too.
Cheers.
All right.
Bye-bye.
All right. That was Tracy McKinnon from South Carolina.
Well, he's bringing me memories of Cruel Jewel that I just can't shake now. I'm going to be thinking about it all day.
I feel bad for Cruel Jewel. You give him so much shade.
It's
It's not the race.
No, it's just you don't know what you're getting into. That's the thing. You thought, okay, just another 100-miler, but
Just another 100-miler. Yeah, just another.
it's just relentless, up and down.
All right, enough of Cruel Jewel.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, like I said, we're going to be at Sulphur Springs. Please come and say hi.
Looking forward to meeting Tracy and Tammy and all of our friends from last year.
Yes, and we hope for better weather. I don't know what. I didn't even check the weather.
Don't check now. It's 2 weeks away. It's going to change 20 times before we get there. Until next time.
Cheers. Bye.